Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, good goody gumdrops, and welcome to the madness that is the Charlie Marx Show. I'm Charlie Marx, and I don't eat dogs. If you are enjoying the Charlie Marx Show, then please like, subscribe, ring the bell for notifications, and follow the Charlie Marx Show. Also, please share, as sharing is daring. You can also leave me a comment, or why not join the show by sharing a problem with viewers later. Or tell me what's bugging you in the world with the devil's advocate. I can also be spied upon by you visiting www.charliemarx.co.uk. Coming up on tonight's show, we have viewers letter, plus all the fake news from around the world and beyond from the CM Newsroom, plus our not so special guest, plus Storytime with Sir Percival Homosexual reading the tense drama Trzan's younger brother, and of course moans and groans and things that go irk in the night with the devil's advocate. And now, before all the insanity which is the Charlie Marx Show, a quick word from our sponsor. Money tight, bills getting on top of you. Thinking of breaking up with Bill? Have you got a bit of spare time? Why not write a best-selling self-help book? What? No talent? No problem, because all you will ever need to know about writing a best-selling self-help book is how to write a best-selling self-help book by the Winkle Wonkle Company for only $9.99. The best-selling books in the market these days are self-help books, and that's a fact, because I was told it's a fact. You see, most people who can read feel that they are failing in life, even if they're not. So why not persuade them that they are, and that you can help? It's easy to make yourself out to be a professional because you're writing a book. The How to Publish a Self-Help Book by the Winkle Wonkle Company has done all the research, so all you have to do is make things up. Make up random statistics. Make up words only a doctor would use, and many, many more tips, all for only $9.99. Buy this book now and get the free How to Remove Dodgy Data from Your Memory Foam Mattress. Get this fabulous book now for only $9.99, and we will show you this fabulous Boris Johnson at the Wurlitzer for free. Get it now, only from the Winkle Wonkle Company. Thank you to our sponsor. Later in the show, we have our special guest. But first, let's see if we can help one of our viewers with a problem only the Charlie Marx Show can solve in Viewers Letter. Today's Viewers Letter is a sad reminder of reality. It's from Percy in Oklahoma. It reads, Dear Charlie, after being married for 64 years, I am recently windowed. My wife has decided that we are having new windows put in, and I'm very much against it, as we're old and soon going to die. And why should we put in new windows just for the benefit of our greedy children selling the place? Many thanks, Percy. Well, Percy, it's always difficult when you get to old age and you come to realise that every investment you make will be going to your kids. I imagine that they never visit or call, so my advice would be to get the worst window fitters in so that 2 days after you both died they fall out. Also, you should hide food around the house which will go off, or in fact, now is probably the time to hide a dead body in the attic, so your kids get the blame and imprisoned for life. I hope you find the answers you need in this
viewer's letter.
Okay, you want to be a tough guy, you gotta watch the Charlie Marx Show. Hoo-ha!
Welcome back, cherubs. You're watching the Charlie Marx Show, and coming up, our special guest, Storytime, and the Devil's Advocate. But before all that, it's time to get a roundup of the latest fake news from around the world and beyond with CM News.
Good evening, and welcome to CM News with me, Kim Kardashian. Our top story: Shelby Bromstein, who is better known as the Grim Reaper, has died at the age of 26,842,204. He was recovering after a bad fall in his London flat. It happened yesterday morning whilst he was shaving. A close colleague told CM News that Shelby was reaching for his razor and accidentally picked up his scythe, cutting his head off. Shelby Bromstein is survived by nobody. Treacle, a cat missing for the past 14 years, has been reunited with his owner, Mrs. Betty Fisher. The happy cat owner is happy that Treacle has been returned to her, but would have preferred if the cat had been given back alive. Politics now, and my parrot has swallowed my watch. It was a good night for football, as 4 teams are now through to the semi-finals of the Religious Cup. Here are the results, and if you don't want to know the score, please go to the bathroom now. Catholic Guild Juniors 1, Jewish Accountants Who Make Their Mothers Proud 3. Scientology Fairy Tales 4, Mormon Door Knockers 0. Thank God We're Atheists 5, Bald Buddhist 2. And Muslim Doctors 2, Protestant Non-Churchgoers 0. And that was the latest headlines. This is Kim Kardashian for CM News. Good night.
Thank you, Kim. More from the CM Newsroom next time. But now, my special guest. My guest this evening is a member of the royal family nobody really talks about. Please welcome from a medieval inn via satellite, the lesser-known Prince Alan. Welcome to the show, sire.
Oh, pish posh. One doesn't need to be that formal with moi.
Okay. Welcome to the show, Alan.
Let's not get carried away, old chap. Your Royal Highness Prince Alan will be sufficient.
Fair enough. So, if I may ask...
One may.
Where do you fit in with regards to being a member of the royal family?
So, it's rather complicated, old bean, but my father was second Earl to the 4th Prince twice removed from the court of the South, and my mother was Camilla Parker Penn.
And that puts you how many in line to the throne?
2,977th, so here's hoping.
And what duties do you have as a prince?
Duties. Well, mainly because you must understand, we royals don't sweat. So I try on all the shirts for Andy and Chuck and some of the other chaps.
And I believe congratulations are in order.
Oh, you heard? How fabulous. Yes, quite. I'm about to go and see Taylor Swift in concert. Terrifically exciting, what?
Yes, very exciting, but I was referring more to your up-and-coming marriage to Princess Agnes from Glasgow.
Oh, that! Yes, of course, quite a tip-top gal. And the way she smokes her vape.
And will the ceremony be held in St. Paul's?
Oh, God, no. Too stuffy, old chap. No, we decided that we wanted something a little, hush-hush and all that. So we decided to rent a small place in Wales and get the old knot tied there.
Any hints as to where that place in Wales is?
Oh, you're so cheeky. Wales.
That narrows it down a bit.
No, you misunderstand me, old chap. We're hiring Wales.
I see. Would you say you have a good relationship with the other members of the royal family?
We all got on like a castle on fire.
So, who are your closest family members?
Well, obviously there's Honey, Whiskey, Span, Foxy, Bushy, but I'm especially close to Candy.
I'm sorry, are they strippers?
Strippers? Oh, don't be so ridiculous, old man. They're corgis. Strippers indeed.
I can only apologise for my misunderstanding.
Strippers? No, the strippers are Bianca, Sapphire and Timothy.
Thank you for clearing that up. What about your relationship with the members of the royal family who aren't canines?
Andy's a tremendous amount of fun, and you can never tell who the blighter's going to introduce you to. And the young ones are such fun as well.
Who in particular do you get on with in the group of younger royals?
Willie is good fun and takes after his grandfather more than you would think. Do you know he has never even looked at a black person before? Now that's very difficult, especially when it comes to those visits to Uganda, Zimbabwe and Birmingham.
And I think we'll leave it right there. Join me next time when our guest of the show will be someone not so racist. But now it's time to slip into your pyjamas, get your cosy blanket, throw another weasel on the fire and curl up on the sofa with a nice glass of wine as Sir Percival Homosexual reads this week's tale of excitement, Tarzan's younger brother in Storytime.
Hello, children. And are you sitting comfortably with your little tab of acid? Then we'll begin. Simon was the lesser-known ape-man of the jungle. His big brother was a legend in the deepest parts of Africa, but Simon was never interested in swinging from tree to tree on vines and would rather get the bus to his work like everyone else. Simon lived in a semi-detached treehouse, only 5 trees down from his big brother Tarzan, but having little in common through the years, they just drifted apart. When Tarzan started dating Jane, they, at one point, believed that they would all have board game nights and hunting elephants during the days, but this never happened. Tarzan was admired by warriors and adored by women, whereas Simon was appreciated by tribes of Jewish treehouse salesmen for his advice on their tax issues. Whilst Tarzan spent his days swimming, swinging and foraging for food for himself, Jane and Cheetah being Tarzan's monkey friend, who had moved in with them when he divorced from his wife Tracy. Simon would be in his office hut, finalising accounts for the king of the Zulu tribe, and returning home to feed his pet hamster. If truth be told, Simon never wanted to go around to Tarzan's place because he had a huge crush on Jane. So much so that he would have walked over hot coals with nails, broken glass and acid just for her. It was safe to suggest that Simon thought Jane was okay. The feeling of wanton desire all started one morning when he saw Tarzan and Jane swimming, and when Jane emerged from the water, Simon watched as she shook off the excess water like a golden retriever. Simon was growing more and more disheartened with jungle life, and he especially disliked the way he had to wear a loincloth over his pinstriped suit, which looked ridiculous, especially with a bowler hat. And yet, through all the things that he hated about the jungle, the one thing that made him want to leave was his growing desire for Jane. Even if he tried to avoid it, it was impossible. He'd be in his local Tesco, or in the butcher's, or baker's, or bow and arrow maker's, and he'd turn his head and she'd be there, allowing her hair to flow like an advert from a dandruff commercial. He thought many times of just packing his bags and leaving, but what if Tarzan never cheated on her? She'd be left alone, needing his shoulder, or perhaps even his tax knowledge. It was not beyond reasonable doubt that Tarzan would cheat on her, as there were rumours all around the pub that he was spending a lot of time with Tracy, Cheetah's ex-wife. No, Tarzan would never get caught doing something like that, as he needed Jane to keep the treehouse clean, and who would wash his loincloth? No, Tarzan was much too much of a schmuck to ever get caught. Whilst Tarzan had been brought up by apes, Simon was brought up by a Jewish adopted parents, Sidney and Ethel Moskowitz. And while Tarzan was taught the art of survival, Simon, on the other hand, was taught the Talmud and the difference between tax avoidance and tax evasion. As the years drifted by, Simon and Tarzan would exchange pleasantries as Tarzan would swing by on his way to another adventure, while Simon stood at the jungle bus stop trying to get to work on time. One morning, while Simon stood in the usual queue at the bus stop, Simon heard the jungle drums of the Daily Express. Everyone at the bus stop was shocked to hear that Tarzan had been mauled by a tiger as he tried to scrub the paint off its fur. The poor tiger was still traumatized from being jumped on by a group calling themselves Just Stop All. The funeral was quiet, and Simon did his best to comfort Jane through a difficult period of mourning, the loss of her husband, and the knowledge that she didn't have anything in for dinner. It was not long until Simon was going round to Jane's to comfort her. Jane did feel a little awkward, as she'd only buried her husband that morning. It was only a matter of time until he was taking care of her financial books, and soon they became entangled in a passionate affair. Both families were not happy about this affair when they found out. The apes believed Jane should have mourned the loss of their son longer, and the Moskowitzes didn't like the notion that their son was mixing with a shiksa. Both Simon and Jane ignored what their families thought and married. The chief Zulu married them in the proper Catholic way, and the wedding ceremony was a sight to see. On one side sat James' family, the upper crust of aristocracy, whilst on the other side were two baboons, an elephant and a warthog. Cheetah was the best man, and although there was a little incident with the wedding rings, they soon retrieved them after a few hours once Cheetah had digested them. As the years drifted past, the happy couple got on with life, and Simon continued every day to go to his office, and Jane would sit about in the hut, having coffee mornings with the topless natives. Simon did try to leave his work early to hopefully be introduced to Jane's topless coffee morning friends, but he would always just miss them. The couple discussed moving to a bigger tree, but Simon had his dream of moving to the UK. Jane was not keen at first, but reluctantly agreed, and within 6 months They had packed up their belongings, said goodbye to the animals, and were soon living in a repossession in Manchester. Life was not easy for the couple, who had been used to the humidity of the jungle and the animal neighbours, and they were finding it rough living in a council estate. Simon found that the buses in Manchester never ran on time, and Jane didn't much care for the local shops. As well as this, Jane discovered that the ladies who came around for coffee mornings to her flat were not impressed when Jane suggested they'd be more comfortable sitting topless. Tensions caused Simon and Jane to argue more and more until sadly they separated. Simon moved out of the family home and returned to the jungle, where he later met and married an alligator. It appeared that Simon had a leather fetish. Jane, however, met a man whom she thought was just like Tarzan. However, his ideas of swinging were not what Jane were used to.
And Sir Percival will be back next time with another story in Storytime. But now it's time for another roundup of moans and groans in The Devil's Advocate. Welcome, children of the night, to The Devil's Advocate. Tonight, my moan is titled Stop Chat. Now, I'm not one for enjoying conversation with people I don't know that well. The polite chat that seems to never end. To be fair, I'm not really interested in hearing the endless stories that someone has saved up on the off chance in bumping into someone. And then there's the people who stop and stand in the middle of pedestrian walkways or in the middle of the shopping centre. These ignorant people just don't care that people are trying to get past and get on with their shopping because they have things to do. If you want to talk to someone, go for a coffee, or better still, invite them to your house. There are too many people who enjoy inane chatter, and I think it would be best to ban it before somebody gets injured by people like me who hate it. Another similar thing that bugs me are the people who go to the cash teller in the bank or a cashier in a supermarket and have a lengthy chat knowing full well there's a queue building up. People, if you find yourself having the compulsion to stop and chat, just remember that there are people like me who are putting you on their list. Thank you for watching the Charlie Marx Show, and remember to like, subscribe, hit the bell for notifications, share and follow me on www.charliemarx.co.uk. You can also buy me a coffee or join the channel for more and more and some more. So, until next time, if you're not subscribed to the Charlie Marx Show, you're not a very nice person.